Hello, this is William Hung, and it is Seltzer Time.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Seltzer Time podcast. It's your boy Ricky, aka Dick Chuck, aka the man behind the can at Seltzer Time Official. Here is always in the conversation accomplice, the man with the hunch about Worcester, Travis.
What is crackin' Fizzle Fiends? Welcome back to another episode of the Seltzer Time podcast. And per usual, we are so glad you're back with us. This week on the show, I shook my whole computer and messed my whole stuff up. Anyway, this week on the show, we are talking to Lance Reenstierna and Tim Pilleri, the owners and creators and lords of Crawlspace Media, a local podcast network based out of Worcester. But before we get there, y'all know what we have to do. Yo, Ricky, how was that McRib sandwich?
Dude, it was so good. In classic Maura fashion, everything I've ever had from him has been unbelievably great. The McRib, I've never actually had a McRib from McDonald's, so I don't technically have anything to compare it to.
After December 9th, when it comes back to us, you and I are going to have to record a bit of content. You can only have a bite. I don't give a fuck. Okay. I'll buy it for you. No,
fuck it. No, I don't. I'll fucking buy it. I just mean
like
$2. No, I know. It's just like the idea of ribs are such a they're. I don't know. It weirds me out that ribs come from a fast food place. Burgers, I get it. They're gross, but I get it. And
they're not actual rib meat. That's the thing we got to denounce here. It's just chopped up pork. It's like a chopped pork sandwich.
I know. All right, fine.
Like a pulled pork.
Do it.
It's a pulled pork sandwich in a really pressed form.
Okay. All right. I'm into it. We'll do it. So I had it. It was wonderful. There was two in the pack, or the not package, but you got two of them
with your order.
So with your order. There we go. That makes more sense than whatever I was trying to say. But yeah, so I had one on Wednesday night, and because my girlfriend's a vegetarian, I could have one on Thursday. She didn't eat it. So so it works out great. Yeah, it was dope. But yeah, it was lovely.
And a good week aside from the delicious sandwich.
Yeah, man, I had a great week. I know everybody was really tired of election coverage, as was I. I learned a new term. Chart throbs. Crazy. Learned about that. That was great. I got some edibles from Buds, the new spot that opened where Eastern Border used to be on West Boylston Street.
Dude, I got to go check that spot out. I'm super pumped about all these new spots we have coming in. And yeah, definitely interested in sampling all of them. You had a good time? Yeah, it was good selection?
Dude, yeah, it was great. I have never bought anything from a dispensary. This is my first time. So I was kind of going through, I was at the parking lot of Trader Joe's, going through good chems stuff. And then I was like, oh, Bud's just opened. And literally the only reason why I didn't go to Good Chem was because Bud's is 2 seconds from my house. So it's actually on my way home if I get off the highway, one exit up. So
that's why I go to Resonate, man. It's because it's right down the street. It's it's just the one that's closest to me, and their pricing works for me. I feel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Plus, Bud's pricing was very, very, very great. But yeah, so I got 2 bars. I got 2 candy bars. I got a s'mores, which I haven't broken into yet. I've been diving into the cookies and cream, it's delicious, and it works real well. But everybody
definitely needed it.
Oh yeah, well, so that was the thing. Tuesday night, everybody kind of knew that we weren't going to know on Tuesday night, but there was never going to be a situation where you weren't paying attention. So I figured instead of the last election, I drank a lot. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, well, I'll just, have a little bit of edible and kind of just ride this bitch out. So I did. And
wise
it was
decision.
Awesome.
Yeah. Wise decision.
Yeah. So got some Buds. Everybody's super nice. The place looks beautiful. You couldn't go into the main room yet. It doesn't open until the 9th, maybe today. I don't actually know. It's maybe it's this weekend, but you could only do curbs or online ordering. So you walk in, do the whole like check your ID 45 times thing, and everybody's super, super nice. The place, from what I saw, looks beautiful. So I really like their branding too. It reminds me a lot of Oxford Pennant. Like, it's very simple.
Okay.
Very like cool. They use kind of the same 3 colors. Everything's really like kind of muted, I guess. It very much so reminds me of like Oxford Pennant or Oxbow or these places that I really, really, really love the branding of. But it's kind of
traditional.
Yeah, it doesn't have that like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason when I think of dispensaries, I think like neon and like fucking like flower. Like, you know, I don't know. It's never going to be a thing I like. But then these guys, I was like, yeah, I kind of dig this, man. It's cool.
I like that. To that point, there's a lot of different branding now, and there's like different brands coming out where you get like the Resonate and the Good Chemistry, where it's like almost the medicinal side of it. But from what I've seen of buds, it feels more of like, I don't know, like the down home, you know, grassroots version of cannabis.
No, it's dope. I'm super into it. So that happened. I got some beers from Redemption Rock, which I'm going to tomorrow, which you guys will hear this morning. Or later. I don't know how to phrase that, but yeah. So Good Hang is beautiful IPA from those guys, or pale ale from them. Got that. It was great. And then the Boston Red Sox rehired Alex Cora. That's all I needed. I was dude, the same day. So, like, I guess technically it was the day before, but like everybody kind of knew that Biden won on Friday, and it was like they kind of called it for Biden, and then Cora was brought back. Like, wait, was Cora brought back Friday or Saturday?
I thought it was Saturday.
No, it was Friday. He was brought back Friday. Yeah, because they were joking around about being like a Friday news dump, but like it wasn't a Friday news dump. He's fucking Alex Cora. So yeah, I'm very, very, very happy to hear that. I actually have faith in the Boston Red Sox again because they brought back the right person for the job. In return, they will end up signing free agents because everybody wants to play for Cora because he's an amazing manager. And yeah, RIP Alex Trebek. I was gutted. How was your week?
See, not to downplay Alex Trebek. You're not worried about the whole signal stealing shit from Alex Cora?
No, that like, first of all, everybody does that. Second of all, that was with Houston. That he literally was found not guilty of doing that with Boston. I don't care what he did in Houston. It's like, again, everybody cheats in baseball. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. They'll find another way. It's just, it's all part of the game. So it is, even though it's like an uneven playing field because of the cheating, everybody's doing it. It's an even playing field. The only thing that like is very wrong, in my opinion, is the banging of the trash can type stuff. Like everybody still signs, but granted it's a creative way of doing it, but it's just like kind of a bush league thing, in my opinion. It's just such a bitch move. So yeah, I don't like that stuff, but hey, he didn't do it with the Red Sox and they won a championship. I don't care what he did in Houston. He paid his price. He lost
he spent a year. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the Tigers hired AJ Hinch, who was the manager of Houston when all this went down. So it's like, whatever. Give me good managers, you know?
As somebody that doesn't really follow sports too closely, when I listened to the NPR article about it and I learned about the sign stealing stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but yeah, I don't know if we want. But anyway, my week was great, man. Well, as good as it was going to be. It was pretty freaking tough, like you mentioned. It was super challenging to stay focused and productive, but I did manage to get some projects done. I'm working on a fun new project with Greater Good, which should be coming out soon. A new IPA. Woo-hoo. Because surprise, surprise, they're all IPAs. This weekend, Saturday, it was such a friggin' gorgeous day that Sarah was like, dude, we got to go take a walk. And I'm like, all right, you're right. We got to go. So we ended up going out to Coe's Pond and saw the new Eamon Gillen mural that's painted on the Benenda Beach House down there.
Happy birthday to Eamon, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, Eamon. You're a beautiful bastard. His mural is so fun, man. It's like this Worcester scene of a frog riding on a turtle, and you could see triple deckers, and his style is like becoming more developed. Like he's a tattoo artist by trade, and he has a very not distinct, but he has a style that he draws in. But his art style with a can is now kind of, it was very tattoo in it's like original form, but the more he works at it, the more he's transcending and evolving to this new, like he did a lot of what's I would refer to as pointillism or stippling, these little dots, and using dots for shading. And if you look up close, it just looks like a bunch of circles, but you step back and it's the shading of the different creatures. And it's just so
that's cool.
Yeah. So nice work, Eamon. Thank you for painting that. He's working on another one over at Beaver Brook right now, I think.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, we also had a socially distant hang with a few of the Powwow Worcester peeps over at Mark and Morgan's new house. We got to meet their 2-year-old Puppo Sugar, who is a big ball of love. And oh shit, hold on, I want to get something real quick.
Okay. So you guys, while Travis gets that, I'll tell you guys more. Shout out Alex Cora. I'm pretty sure we're gonna sign a couple of relievers. It's gonna be sick. And I can see a way where the Red Sox win the World Series again. Hey Travis, welcome back. We've been talking about baseball.
I could tell. They gave us these shirts. These are our I'm a Smile Maker 2020 Harvey Ball.
Oh, sick.
That's a good word for it, because I don't know who was thinking making this design. I am not going to wear a shirt that says 2020 on it. It's just not my style. But it has all the winners of the Harvey Ball Award, the World Tour, as it were.
Okay.
Thank you for the t-shirt, and thank you for the Smile Award. Everybody should go watch that video because it was fun.
Cool.
I think with that, we could probably jump over to the conversation with Lance and
real
Tim.
quick, just a heads up. Donald Trump lost. I don't even know if we touched on that, but yeah, he lost the presidency or last election, which is wonderful. I kind of don't mind the idea of a recount because then we get to watch him lose twice. But I also know it's going to be a very long 2 months of him doing a bunch of dumb stuff and saying dumb stuff and it being really annoying. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He is gone. So
yeah,
shout out America.
We'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. I feel like we're going to touch on that in Stokes and Pokes.
Yeah, probably.
Take it away, us. What is cracking, Fizzle Fiends? This week on the show, we are talking to Lance Reenstierna and Tim Pilleri, Lords of Crawlspace Media. What is happening, guys? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having us. This is great. I got my seltzer ready. This is perfect.
Whoa, I'm impressed. You guys are seriously, I mean, the fact that you two have microphones in front of you shows that you are some of our most prepared guests we've had on.
These are not real microphones. These are not plugged in, and I don't even know if mine is made out of anything that's got electronics in it.
Yeah. They're just part of the Zoom background.
Yeah, they're not going to give me a microphone in prison.
True.
And not a real one anyway.
So convincing. I mean, your prop making skills are spot on, man. Or
I got a lot of time on my hands in here.
What are they sneaking you in? I mean, that looks like plastic. How are you getting plastic through the bars?
Well, I have some friends on the inside. I have some guards that know how to get things. So we'll just leave it at that.
A red style character.
Yes, exactly.
Fair deal. So awesome, guys. Well, we talk about prison, but I think you guys are a little more well-versed on true crime and other subjects of that nature. Wow, I got to get better at this shit. Crawlspace Media started with Missing Maura Murray, I believe, which is a podcast about Maura Murray. We want to take it away from there. Like, let our listeners know.
Sure thing. Yeah. We run Crawlspace Media, and we're based in Worcester, and we do mostly podcasts and documentaries. And the first podcast we started together was in July of 2015. It is called Missing Maura Murray. It is still going, and it is about a real life missing person named Maura Murray. Lance and I were working on a documentary about the community, the online community that is obsessed with the disappearance of Maura Murray. And we were doing a documentary on those people. And you might think, well, that's pretty small. That has to be a small thing. And it kind of is. It's a niche, I will say. But the community, the online community of people who follow the case is not that small. 100,000 people or something like that, maybe more, who follow it, pretty regularly. So we were doing the podcast initially to further our documentary, which it was called Finding Maura Murray. And but really initially right away the podcast kind of took off and people sort of looked at us as investigators in this case. And we don't have any investigative background. We certainly don't come from a law enforcement background or anything like that. So we kind of had to evolve with the show.
Interesting. It was a really interesting way to start off, right? Because we're, first of all, interested in the disappearance because it's fascinating, because it's a single car accident in the White Mountain region of New Hampshire, and she's just gone. There's no evidence, no credible sightings, nothing. It never has been any activity on a cell phone. There's never been any activity on a debit card, just gone. So that in itself is really fascinating, and it makes you want to pull your hair out when you're just looking at the mystery in itself. But the more we were looking at it, and it all started with a man who made a video online when we were like, wow, there's a really unique group of people who are looking into this case, and they start from this end of the spectrum, which is responsible. We didn't know the term citizen detective at the time. We just thought that these were people like us looking into a case. And
sure.
And some people were super responsible, and some people were like this guy who made this video. So it was this entire spectrum of personalities. So the documentary was really more of a psychological experiment. Like, what is going on with these people, and why are they so into it? Why are they so passionate about it? Why do they get so mad when you disagree with a theory?
Well, it was really right when like the true crime kind of the modern true crime phase really exploded, with Serial and Making a Murderer and things like that. And so I think that's partly why we got such a passionate response, because all of a sudden amateurs were investigators. And again, like I said, like we were now looked at as investigators and leaders of this online community that we did not intend for. But we really took the role and rode with it and really, really appreciated it. And it wasn't more than a few months into the podcast's run where we got approached by a production company, a TV production company, that ended up leading to the disappearance of Maura Murray television show, which aired on Oxygen in the fall of 2017. 6-part series. And so we were excited to bring, we were really hoping, and we never dreamed really when we started our documentary and the podcast that we would have some effect on the actual case. Sure. And so, when the Oxygen show got underway and the possibility of that happening became a reality, we started getting really excited, and we're like, well, now contractually, we're not really allowed to break any new news in the case because of this show, but that's very much worth it because we can actually make progress in this case. We had heard that the police were actually going to participate. The Murray family was ready to participate. So we were very excited that the show was going to bring progress to the case.
That's fascinating. So I'm sure you guys get the question all the time, but you didn't know Maura.
No, we didn't know her. No connection whatsoever. Yeah, she is from the Hanson area, south of Boston. And I'm from a little north of Boston in Medford. Lance is from southern New Hampshire. And we're around the same age. I think we're at least a few years older. I think, between 3 and 5 years older than Maura. So we really probably wouldn't have had any connection to her anyway. But we really, I never heard of the case when it happened. I was living in Massachusetts when she went missing. And it wasn't until years later when Lance sort of got involved a little bit in the online community and asked me about doing this documentary that I even heard about the case in the first place.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. I actually have a friend who lives in Charlton, whose name is Maura Mori. So like every time I've heard it, I'm like, wait, hold on a second. That's not the same person, right? Like, and I talk to her pretty frequently, so I know she's not missing. But yeah, every time I've seen it, that's the first thing I've thought of. But I never heard of the actual case before until then.
Can you send us a picture of her just so we can confirm? Because it'd be awesome to wrap it up.
Yeah, right.
How
Turns
crazy
out
would
I've been
that
friends
be?
with her the entire time.
She just
That would
changed
be
her
pretty
name by
crazy.
2 letters.
Yeah. How crazy would that be? It would be crazy, but it would not surprise me at this point. I mean, if this was how we were going to like go out of 2020, I'd be like, yeah, all right. Well, she switched around a couple letters in her name and we got her. There we go.
Managed to ignore all the
Buzz.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I mean, so like, again, I didn't know about the case until I heard about your podcast. And again, I heard about your podcast because I think you guys were featured in Worcester magazine a couple of years back. And that's when I learned about Crawlspace. And then my wife, I will tell you that you guys are probably the biggest get in her eyes for us because she were the first people who are like, wow, you're talking to them.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I can't wait till you report back to her and you're like, they just wouldn't shut up.
No, they were normal
Shut up.
dudes.
We couldn't get a word in edgewise.
One of them was disappearing into a wall.
The other one was on the beach. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice here.
You really, I mean, you do have both scenes from Shawshank or both ends of Shawshank in this.
I'm going to tunnel out.
So you guys started with Missing Maura Murray did you ever finish the documentary?
So the Oxygen show aired, and then we kind of, again, contractually had some, we basically had to scrap what we wanted to do originally. So it ended up having to be a very independently done docu-series that we did release on Amazon Prime. We released 4 episodes. We're working on more. And again, it's very independent. It's really more about our journey. The first 4 episodes, I would say, are very interesting, though, because they were, well, I mean, I think all of it's really interesting, but we followed James Renner, this author of a book on Maura Murray called True Crime Addict. And the first 4 episodes of Finding Maura Murray are us going with him. It's kind of like a road trip documentary where we go to the crash site in New Hampshire, and then we go to Canada where he actually thought she might have been. So we had a bunch of missing posters, and we went to a few different cities in Quebec, Canada. And then on the way back, we stopped to see Maura's car, which is at a state police barracks in New Hampshire. So yeah, pretty interesting documentary, I think.
It's an interesting way to plan a vacation.
yeah.
like Tim said, it was sort of a road trip type movie, and it did turn into it really did fit the category of a psychological I don't know, like a slow burn, there were moments where it was so surreal and bizarre that it could be taken like that movie. Remember when Catfish came out before the TV show, where you didn't really know about it yet? Like you didn't know what it was. And then as it started to unfold, you were like, oh shit, this is kind of creepy, but kind of funny. And then you're wondering why people do this. So this whole like social psychological experiment. And we were learning as we were going. When we were with James, we were shooting all the time because we didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't really know where to kind of start. Do we go to gas stations? Do we go to bars? Do we go to gyms? He had this theory because she was a track runner and she had pizza in college that she really liked pizza. So he was like, we can check out some pizza places. He had very like limited information on her as a person and what she'd be doing in Canada. So it was really fascinating to look at where we went and why. And then we would kind of talk. Like he would be, he'd go to the restroom and then we would say, okay, so what do you think about this? And like, he's super passionate. Like you can't fault him for taking time out of his own life to go look for somebody who he's never met and go to another country. So no matter what he did, it was still always coming back to that one thing where one of the funniest things about the trip was not funny, but telling was that we planned it. And he made missing posters, but he never made missing posters in French. And we went to French speaking areas in Canada. And that never even occurred to me until months later. We were putting up flyers. And then I don't even know if I could like really thought through it. And then months later, I was like, oh, those are in English. Like,
Yeah.
Oops.
wow, that's really strange. So even all that planning, he still didn't think about putting them in French or having just like a French line on English and French.
Yeah.
So it was a super fascinating experience to be with him.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and the documentary was really supposed to be us observing the people who are obsessed with the case, but quickly we became obsessed too. So it's kind of tough to see the forest for the trees
draw the
in this
line.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of has those elements too.
Nicely done. Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, even that is a story in and of itself of how you start from the outside and how easy it is to get caught up inside it. And because it's super easy. Like I've been watching the oh my God, the name of the show escapes me, but they're out on Oak Island out in Nova Scotia trying to find that buried treasure. And it's so stupid. It's a bunch of just knuckleheads digging in the dirt, but you can't help but be compelled by the story and be like somewhat a little bit interested to see if they really could find buried treasure.
How many seasons is that? Because I remember watching that, and on like season 3, I was like, this is the same episode. It's the same episode every single time.
They just bring in a different guy with the metal. The guy that saved the show was the British guy with the metal detector. And he's like, oh, it's a coin. And he's like, he's my favorite because he's finding these tiny little trinkets, but they're making the biggest deal about them.
Wait, that's a real show?
Yeah.
I thought that was a joke.
Curse of Oak Island. No, it's a real show. I think there's like 8 seasons.
8
That's amazing.
seasons.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, the mystery of Oak Island is really crazy. Like that is super fascinating. And, you know, all the little traps that were set up in that, in the whole system underground there, but 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do they think they are? Missing Maura Murray?
Well, actually, I was going to say, I don't think this is the first comparison we've had to that show, because I haven't seen that show, but I understand that, like you guys said, like there is at its core a compelling mystery, and then you have groups of people who are really after the same goal. And I believe in that case, some of them are at odds with each other. And in our case, that ends up kind of happening at times because really, I think with the podcast now, Missing Maura Murray, if it doesn't upset somebody, I feel like it's not being effective. And I want to clarify, like we're not trying to piss people off, but people are so passionate that if we have on a guest who has a strong opinion, you're automatically gonna upset a certain fraction of people. And it works best like that, to be honest. Well,
they're more compelling conversations that way.
Right. It's passionate. You want, even the people who are upset, they're going to listen again because they want you to come out of that, or have someone who disagrees with that last person, And
I think we understood that this ultimately raises awareness for missing people.
Sure.
And then we started Crawlspace because we wanted to raise the awareness for as many cold cases and missing person cases, and also to educate ourselves. And I think in turn would educate the listener on a number of different ways cold cases are investigated and researched. And that was something that always fascinated us. And the title Crawlspace just came from Tim and I brainstorming like how do you describe like digging deeper, getting into uncomfortable spaces? Like, what is that? Like, what is like, you have to, it's got to be dark at times, there has to be something you can find in there. And I think we were just brainstorming anything. We came up with it kind of simultaneously, and we were like, oh, like a crawl space. So that's where Crawlspace came from. But we started that because of Breonna Maitland's disappearance is always connected with Maura Murray's disappearance, because it was like a month later, just around a month later, a little over, and like 90 miles away. Very similar circumstances, single car on the side of the road. Breonna's case is a little bit more obviously nefarious because her car was backed into the side of a house and sort of got hung up on the foundation of the house. and she wasn't able to move it. But same deal. She disappeared, no trace, no sightings that have been credible, no activity on cell phones, bank accounts, nothing. And her dad, Bruce Maitland, reached out to us and asked us if we would cover it. We had a lot of listeners who wanted to know, like, are they connected? As far as we know, they're not connected disappearances. But we ended up working with Bruce a lot, and his personal private investigator, Greg Overacker, a member of law enforcement, a former police chief, Lou Berry, and a number of other people. Like Chloe came onto the scene with us, and she helped out as a what was her title? She was a
She was like a psych
counselor.
She worked at a psych hospital. Yeah, she was like a group counselor, I think, at a psych hospital, and she was one of the people who reached out to us when we started missing Maura Murray. And she has a twin sister, and they've always both been really interested in crime and disappearance cases, and so she was really a big help and a big part of the show when we initially launched it, and our Brianna Maitland coverage. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
That's so cool that Crawlspace emerged from the need to find these other cases and people reaching out to you and building this own community of your own.
Yeah.
And now we have a number of people that, we never thought, like in my professional life before this, I never thought that I would be close with FBI agents and former U.S. Marshals and a criminal psychologist from the UK, or even like a true crime writer. Like, these are people that we just reach out to, as well as people that are interested in a case like Maura's or Brianna's, and they have time to and passion and motivation to do something positive in a situation like that. The nonprofit. I never thought that I'd be on the board of a nonprofit that raises money to help investigations for missing people, and work with somebody like Bruce Maitland. But it's humbling, but it's also very rewarding at times. And it's very frustrating at times.
Yeah, we started it really, like you said, Lance, to kind of learn more. And we also were a little bit frustrated with just missing Maura Murray because we couldn't really express our personalities at all. And we do have more interests, which are not just dark ones. But we are interested in mysteries, like unsolved murders and missing people, but more, and we're fun-loving guys. We're actually quite goofy in our personal lives, so we really needed to show our personalities more. So Crawlspace, you'll see that a little bit more. And then we also launched Empty Frames, which is an art crime podcast. So we're really kind of
heist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we really kind of explore all sorts of mysteries. Most of them are kind of New England based, the ones we do deep dives in, but yeah, it definitely is rewarding.
What exactly is art crime?
Oh, like heists. We started
about the Gardner heist?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We started that because we had a listener of Missing Maura Murray who was very interested in the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist, and he said he basically was like, "Can I help you guys make this podcast? What do you need?" And we're like, yeah, sure, we can do this. And we worked out an arrangement with the like the podcast network that we were on at the time, so it became like an exclusive for their network. And it was great. We sort of got pigeonholed a bit on our guests because there was another podcast that I'm not going to mention because I'm not going to give them the press, but another organization far more powerful than Crawlspace Media, which is super surprising.
It's
I know,
really shocking.
It's really
you would
shocking.
think there isn't one, but
we're basically talking about QAnon levels here.
Gotcha. Understood.
I'm kidding about that. So no, this other media conglomerate was making another podcast about the same topic, and the people that we wanted to interview signed
NDAs,
I guess, exclusivity agreements with this other network. But that was fine because that really forced us to create an alternative narrative as to how the heist story is told. And we talked to former guards. We talked to people who wrote books about the criminals in the city at the time. We talked to art recovery master Arthur Brand. Like so many people that we probably wouldn't have reached out to former night watchman, a former door guard that she gave information about a man who just like bullied his way in and went into the security room, a few days before the heist. And it was like breaking news. Really? That happened? So a lot of these,
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and it was a different narrative.
And we're not journalists too. So that other one is kind of like a polished, very journalistic version where they play like use 5 minutes of like 2-hour conversation. We're going to do the deep dive where it's like, you're going to hear the entire goddamn conversation if we talk to someone who's really interesting, because that's what we do. So yeah, while that did happen and kind of forced our hand, I think at our core are more comfortable being that rebellious podcast, because we're not journalists,
Sure.
How do you guys find your guests and like reach out to them?
A lot of different ways. Yeah. A lot of word of mouth, Twitter, a lot of online social media stuff too helps.
Nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of articles that are written about elements that we talk about, like a psychology article or so we'll find the person who wrote that article or the subject of that article, and then we'll, research to see if we can find contact info on that person. It's like a pretty even percentage between people that reach out to us, people who suggest somebody, and people that we look into on our own.
Nice.
That's I mean, so do you guys think that your success is partly because you are just so interested in the topic and in the subject matter, and you're clearly passionate about, say, the research portion of this, that you're willing to spend that much time? Because I think there's a cash grab a little bit for this style of podcast where there's a lot more that hit the market now because everybody thinks they're easy to do and they're fun to do, and I could do this too. But there's a very clear distinction between somebody that's doing it for money and somebody's doing it for clearly a passion.
It's a great question. And something that we see too. I think you make a lot of good points in that. And I really think it's on the listener to, I don't necessarily mean decide, but I think the listener can tell what the intention of the podcast or the voice really is, So I think if it's not coming from a real place, it's going to be pretty obvious pretty quickly. Yeah. So yeah, for us, it's, it's definitely in us, that passion.
Clearly. I mean, you both just told me how much time you spend researching and how you find guests by looking at other articles. And now you're racing against a major network to try to get people to talk to you before they talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, they're racing against us now. We're on season 3 and they haven't made anything else. So I take that as a win.
That's what's up. Yeah. Hell yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, we were contractually obligated, but.
Are you still working with another podcasting network, or are you guys completely independent now?
We are independent, but we work with Spotify and Anchor with our podcast network. We have our podcast network, which you could say is an independent podcast network that has some partners like Spotify and Anchor and some other ones like Podfluence, which is really cool. Which is a site that gets people interested in different shows that they haven't heard of and things like that. Mostly true crime. We have a Get Vocal as a partner where we do some live shows. We do a weekly Thursday night live show on Get Vocal. Cool. Yeah, it's really cool. It streams right to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for us. So from one, and we broadcast it from one location, and we have a chat room every week on getvocal.com that participates. And that's, like you mentioned earlier, it's a community. We've really built this community. It kind of just happened naturally, and it's really cool.
A weekly live show sounds exhausting. Like,
we get so pumped up for it. Lance even more so than me, because he like gets the warm up music going now, which is a new thing.
House music.
Yeah, the house music. Yeah, Lance gets really fired up for these. Depending on our guests, sometimes I'm a little mellow because I have kids in the next room who are sleeping, and also some of them are a little bit darker. Some of the episodes, but when they're fun, they're like, well, I mean, they're always interesting, but some of them are really kind of raucous when they're. It's a fun guest.
Yeah, it's not exhausting at all. It's on Thursday night, so it's like the end of it's 9 p.m. on Thursday. It's the end of the week wrap up. And it's just like laid back, and we try to get guests that we can keep light. You know, they have important things to say, but we can keep it light. We've had really heavy guests on, and those conversations go well also. We have a really good community of people that join in every Thursday, and they contribute by messaging in the chat section. So there'll be this whole other conversation that's going on the side, and these people are depending on it now. You know, they'll join in, and they're like, it's my favorite night of the week, and it's just so cool to see that and have that.
That's awesome.
Be something that people
TV.
love. Yeah, exactly. We're like the Full House of Thursday night true crime. Get vocal.
But that's awesome. With this many shows and this many things you guys are doing, are you doing this full time? Like, is this your full time job these days?
I was just about to ask that same question.
Oh,
sorry, I'm muted there.
It's all good.
Yeah, it is our full time job. We've been doing it full time for a few years now. Yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
Sorry, my dog's dreaming and it's distracting the hell out of me.
Oh, that's adorable. I have a question. Where are you guys in Worcester?
Yeah.
You're outside.
Yeah, I'm in my backyard.
It's gorgeous here today.
It's gorgeous. It was kind of cool this morning. I mean, I'm more on easterly of you in Massachusetts, but Tim, I mean, you're on your tropical island beach. But it was just funny because Ricky was like outside. I thought it was his virtual background. And then he was like, no, I'm really outside. And now you took off like your overshirt and you're just in short sleeve.
So I popped outside like 15 minutes before we jumped on to record. I had to like fix something really quick. So I jumped outside and I was like, oh man, it's super nice out. I'll just record out here. When I first moved into this house, we didn't have any furniture in here. So I had to record outside because it was super echoey. And then, so I like put a hoodie on because I thought, I'm outside.
Thought it was November.
And then about 10 minutes into this, I was like, holy shit, I'm like starting to sweat a little bit. Like the sun is
nice.
Pretty much right behind me. But yeah, I know it's gorgeous outside right now. It's very strange.
I think that's awesome that you guys live, opposite directions, and Worcester is your center spot of all places. Like you guys have an actual studio space here, right?
We do. Yeah, in Worcester, and when we were recording there before this horrible COVID pandemic, we were recording regularly there and going there every weekday, really, to record. And our intro was always, here we are in the Crawlspace Studios in Wormtown. It's Tim and Lance. So that was always a fun part of our intro. And now since the pandemic, we kind of had to lose that part.
Bummer. Hopefully it's coming back eventually.
Worcester, yeah, hopefully, because it was so nice. It was so cool to go to our building. Worcester is a really wonderful city that has been coming up for a while and is really, I mean, COVID probably set it back a little bit, like everything else has been set back. But Worcester is now getting the Red Sox affiliate team. Is it the AAA team?
Actually,
there you go.
I just happened to throw this on, so.
Yeah, you already have the hat, and unfortunately, they're getting rid of Kelly Square, which was always a delight. But they have all
it's still there. It's just the Kelly Kotex now.
It's too bad because I remember experiencing that for the first time, and then thinking like, oh, they should make like T-shirts about this. And I looked it up, and there was already so many T-shirts about it. And my favorite was Kelly Square Worcester because fuck you.
Yeah. No, that
sounds about right.
I'll be honest. You go in there right now. It's still not any better. It's just people going in a circle and a little more hectic.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a rotary now? Is that what it is?
It's a double rotary. You boys haven't been back in a bit, have you? Yeah, it's a double rotary.
Well, that helps.
It's operational.
If there's one way to make Kelly Square even more dangerous, it's to put a double rotary in there.
We're just going to start giving all the cars knives and then just see what happens. They're just going to drive into each other. And it'd be like, remember that show BattleBots? It's a little bit like that. Or like Twisted Metal.
I think this is the next Mad Max movie. It's like Mad Max Kelly Square.
Kelly Square.
I'd watch it.
I watched Mad Max Fury Road for the first time on Saturday night. So I actually know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm like the worst movie. I'm the worst movie person probably in the world. And yeah, my girlfriend's brother was like, we have to watch Mad Max Fury Road. I was like, cool. I don't know what that is. And he's like, it's like my favorite movie ever. And we watched it, and it was a movie.
It was a movie. That was your reaction.
It didn't make any sense to me. It was just like these guys driving in the desert. There was like 6 beautiful women, and then there was a guy playing guitar on the front of a truck.
You are the worst movie. You are the worst movie person.
I am. I'm the absolute worst movie person ever.
Oh my God. You joined in a franchise at like their 4th movie that was like 18 years after, like, and then you're like, it doesn't make any sense.
Why are they in the desert?
I don't get it. Someday I'll probably watch the other ones, but
yeah, it's a great movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, Fury Road was fantastic, and the way it was shot was astounding.
I don't think I saw any of the other ones either. I just that one.
Oh really?
Oh really?
Oh good.
I had an uncle that was into them. My Uncle Frank's really into them. So I was a younger kid, and I remember watching them. They're cool. Like Thunderdome was it was just, it's fun and it's over the top and it's I don't know. I can remember being
Kelly
13.
Square.
Yeah, dude. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Is that guy playing guitar on the front of a car?
yeah. And when he strums it, flames come out of the amplifiers or the speakers.
Yeah, that's so insane.
It's so
yeah. It's
so
very
good.
insane.
The guy who made that movie made Babe, Pig in the City.
Yeah,
and Happy Feet.
Happy Feet. That's insanity.
They're all the same movie.
It's all the same universe.
You're probably right. That guy is a brilliant filmmaker. Yeah.
If you look closely in Kelly Square, there are actually dancing penguins too. So it does kind of tie it all together.
I used to when we would leave the office for lunch occasionally, and we didn't really know we were not far from Kelly Square, but sometimes we drive around not really exactly knowing where we're going. And whenever we'd realize, oh shit, we're heading towards Kelly Square, it's like that feeling that characters get in a movie if they're in a river and they see, oh shit, a waterfall is coming. It's like, how do I do anything?
Broke your paddle.
Grab a tree branch. Like, how do I stop from going over this waterfall?
Just bail out of the car.
Yeah.
Does that
the car
ever
would
happen?
probably be safe in Kelly Square. Just ghost ride it through.
I mean, like hop a
jump
curb.
out.
They do say don't stop. So
Yeah, don't stop. Just don't stop.
Now you can go to the market and grab yourself a Wachusett beer and sit outside and just witness the horror show for hours, just sitting there sipping on your beer, watching.
They have like a beer garden there now.
Yeah. Like a little patio.
Kelly Square is getting better. So you're telling me that what Kelly Square once was is now a double rotary, more dangerous, and you can sit outside and drink a beer and watch it happen.
Yeah, you know how like the American Revolution, people used to go picnic and watch the battle? Yes. It's a little like that.
That's incredible. I was actually thinking about that. Like in the Civil War where they had like, it was like they would put on, it was basically a show. Like people would just sit there and sip lemonade and watch it.
It's fucking insane. And that's, somebody realized that that's what they need to do outside the world's worst rotary.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. It's all you.
I was just going to ask where you guys usually went to lunch when you're in Worcester, but I feel like your question is going to be a lot better.
No, the lunch question is pretty funny. So we went to, I think Panera the first time and literally killed our day. Like by the time we were done, we were like, it's 4:00. We got lost. We're like, we can't go anywhere beyond, unless we're going to the highway, because we knew how to get to the highway. And we were like, all right, we just got to stay within like 30 feet of this building and we'll be good. Unless we're going back to the
Grove
highway.
Street, right?
We're on Jackson Street, our studio. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that close to Grove Street? I'm not sure.
I thought so. Maybe
Jackson
not.
Street, like near New Tradition?
No, that's Jackson Place.
No, that should be. I think it's Jackson Street.
We're near downtown. Near Main Street. We're
nestled in between Hurricane Betty's and the other strip club.
Yeah. So you're over near New Tradition.
Oh no shit.
I don't know. Is that another strip club?
No, it's a coffee shop. Well, maybe. Depends on how many coffees get served. It's a coffee shop, barber shop, motorcycle shop.
Oh.
Love Worcester.
Yeah.
Love Worcester.
We're like maybe diagonally like 3 blocks away from the hot dog place, Coney Island hot dog.
Okay, yeah.
This is exactly where we think you are. I was wrong. I don't know why I thought you guys were over by the Fix, but it's awesome.
So to answer your question, we went to Panera the first time, and then occasionally we would go and meet people where they knew. Oh, we got sushi once at a place that I can't even tell you the story because it's going to turn my stomach. That was
really bad. Really bad sushi.
The worst.
Shangri-La? Shangri-La, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? It's downtown Worcester.
It's
the worst. It's like right across from it's like right across from the city hall or whatever, the big plaza there. Turtle Boy, right near Turtle Boy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still there. I think that might have.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were craving sushi. We had gotten a PO box, and it was right there next to where the PO box was, and we were like, oh, let's grab lunch here.
Celebratory PO box sushi.
Oh, I know exactly where you guys were. Was the PO box inside the Midtown Mall?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know exactly where Shangri-La. It's right on the corner, like near CVS.
Yeah.
Yep. I've never had food there, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is that place still open?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The hot food was great though. Wow. We never tried it, but we heard great things. But don't get the sushi if it's open.
Okay.
No. So we stuck to takeout. We got really hooked on, I'd say, 3 places, one of them in particular, and to the point where I think the people who like ran the place were like, do you guys ever eat anywhere else? Like we kind of feel like are you guys okay?
So yeah, let's run through them real quick. And anytime we'd meet someone that we knew and we had to suggest something, the only place that we really knew that was close enough and that had seats was Nana's, I think it's called, which is like right near the ice arena, MCU center or whatever it's called. The ice hockey arena there.
Noni's?
Oh
Nona's.
shit, Nona's.
Pizza place.
Nona's. Yeah.
That's not open anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's a brewing co.
We do.
Bay State Brewing Co.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So and then what? Sophia's, Lance. we quickly switched to just delivery because again, like we didn't really know our way around enough, and then the Kelly Square problem, and then the Panera issue. We'd spend too much time. It wouldn't be an efficient enough day, so we needed to get delivery. So Sophia's was right down the street and always on point with their wraps.
Nice.
Ola's tomato pie, OTP.
Yes, really like them too.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Good question.
They
just came to us. We didn't go to them.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. Those were they were on rotation. There was that Greek place that then stopped doing the delivery. Remember the Greek place?
Wraps and things or something like that.
Oh yeah, like wraps and
bowls, wraps and
bowls.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never been there, but that place, I have friends who live over in that area, and they said that was like one of the best places in the entire city, and then it closed.
Oh, we loved
it.
Yeah,
it closed.
It's a much different scene when you guys get back here, I'll tell you.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, but is it like a wasteland like Mad Max?
No, it's just a lot of changeover. Like we have a donut coffee shop downtown now that's bananas. There's what is that, Vietnamese?
Rain?
Chasu? What's Chasu?
Oh, it's it's like ramen.
Ramen.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really, it's funny that all the places you guys mentioned, nobody around here would mention in terms of like regular.
We don't mean that. No, it's just
it's
interesting to hear.
It was really like whatever is available on Eat24 that we could get delivered was really what we got basically.
That's incredible.
I respect that.
But when we can all get together again, we have to meet up. You have to take us to one of the new places.
Yeah,
and
hands down.
We'll take you guys on tour.
Yeah, and
perfect.
Maybe we could grab a beer and watch the new Kelly Square and see what's going on there.
We'll place bets on who's going to make it out alive.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
We had planned on going out there. We had planned on going out there and interviewing someone for Missing Maura Murray because they were local. And then, Tim was like, should we really go out there now? Like, it just takes the novelty away because of COVID, because it's like, why are we putting anything at risk? Like when we can do this over Zoom and, hopefully that comes back because it was a really fun way to spend the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like since March, Travis and I have only recorded every single episode except for one of them, I think.
2. We did 2 in person. We did the Queen's Cups, and then we did one a couple weeks ago.
Oh, in your backyard.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was 2 of us sitting on my deck in my backyard.
Yeah. But even, I mean, like 90% of the people we interview are within like a 10-minute drive from where either one of us are. We've had to record via Zoom. So it makes sense you guys kind of stuck to that.
And it's a little bit better in person. I think editing is a little bit, you don't need as much editing time, I would say. But I think at this point, so many months into the pandemic, I feel like the quality is about the same as it would be for us being in person at this point.
Yeah. I think it took a minute with the conversation. You have to leave pause moments and make sure it's not like we can just all talk over each other in a normal round the table setting.
Right. Yeah.
But once you got over that, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I still talk over people.
Come on, man. To your point, I'd be much rather sit around a table. There's something about seeing people.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how social of a creature I am. I used to think I was a loner, and then this pandemic has pulled back the curtains on that that whole line of thought.
Oh, I went the opposite way. I feel like I'm more of a loner than I thought I was. Because I don't really care about going anywhere anymore.
It's not the going anywhere, but it's like the only talking to my wife. Like, she's lovely. She's the love of my life. But turns out I like to talk to more people than just her.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. And we exercise that every day with our jobs. So yeah.
Yeah. So you guys said you had other interests. Do you guys have other shows do you guys host the other shows on your network, or do you just help produce them and stuff?
Some of them we host, and some of them are completely produced by other creators who we have met somewhere along the way, who we kind of pair up with, and they join the network, which is really cool. But yeah, we definitely host some other shows. I do a fantasy football one that is a lot of fun because it's just a passion. I've been doing that one for longer than Missing Maura Murray, technically. Like and it's never real. Like, I don't take it that seriously, but I just have to talk about fantasy football.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love sports, but fantasy, I've never been able to get into it.
No,
I don't know.
No, you love the management portion of it. When you played NHL,
I love the management. Yeah, I love the management style of baseball and hockey. Football management makes no sense to me. There's like a million people on each team, and football is like my least favorite sport. So it's never been a thing. My old roommates were obsessed with fantasy football. They would have like a draft, and there was a board and like all this stuff. And I get home and I was like, oh, cool. Like, I know the Patriots guys and like some of the quarterbacks, but that's about it.
Yeah. I know the 4th running back on every single depth chart in the NFL.
That's incredible. That's me with like bullpen pitchers for baseball. Like, I'm much more interested in that.
Right.
You do fantasy baseball?
No.
No, and I don't either. I only watch football at this point too. I don't really feel like I let every other sport slip, and I don't miss them either. I still like the sports, but I don't watch anything else.
Huh.
It's with as much content that we can consume these days, it becomes laborious to watch any sports to me. And like, my dad does fantasy baseball, and he plays it to the point where you got to pay per move and that sort of deal. And it's what he's been doing his entire life. He loves it. I just don't share that passion. I would much rather work on a design or something, I guess.
Yeah, everyone's
really
got their
interesting
nerdy niche. Yeah, everyone's got their nerdy niche, is what I was going to say. Yeah,
agreed.
And I kind of look at it like it's kind of similar to what we do now, Lance. There's a lot of research. There's like, you actually have to kind of be an investigator in some ways, because the coaches don't actually tell you the truth on what they on what player is going to get what roles and whatnot. So you kind of have to read the tea leaves.
I like that it's basically Dungeons and Dragons for jocks, and none of the jocks want to actually admit it.
No, it totally is.
There's no dice.
Yeah, it's Dungeons and Dragons for dorky sports fans. Like, it's fine. You don't have to be a jock to enjoy fantasy football.
Agreed.
I mean, think about how old sports are, right? Going back to like the Greek like Colosseums and gladiators. Like, NFL is like modern day gladiators without the obvious like killing someone on the field.
Do you think they did fantasy chariot racing?
That's where my joke was going. Yeah.
Definitely gambling on that stuff for sure. Like fantasy is only like a more intricate way to gamble on sports.
Yeah, good point.
That's all it really
They were
is.
gambling on the election.
Yes, I did as well.
Did you really?
Tim
sure
put a little
did.
cream on it.
I actually won $300 the first time Obama was elected.
It's a good bet.
I don't bet at all, and I have a friend who is kind of just a natural troll, and I'll never forget. He was like, I forget what we were talking about it for some reason. We just got out of high school like 2 years before, and he was like, "Why do you think Obama's going to win?" And I literally was like, "Because Eddie Vedder said so." And so he bet me $300, and I just was like, "Let's let it ride. Pearl Jam will guide me home," and they did.
Did he pay you?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And then, but he's tried to bet with me every single election since then, and I've stayed away from it because I was like, I don't gamble, and I felt pretty confident, except for obviously like the 2016 one didn't really go the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
But I should have bet him this time, but I stayed away from it.
What did you bet on, Tim?
I bet on Biden to win, and I also bet on the electoral difference, the amount of that Biden would win by, and then I also bet that he would win Texas. I got a little idealistic there.
I mean, you weren't too far off. That was, we're still counting.
Yeah, and but really though, the odds really favored Trump. If you were actually going to make a bet, like it was kind of a bad bet. Like I was looking at it for like months, like looking at Biden minus 170 for months, and this is really not a great bet. It's like 1-2 almost. It's a bad bet, but I'm like, I don't feel pretty confident. I only put like $35 on it or something.
That's awesome. I was reading some douchebag online who's trying to argue his 27 grand bet on Trump that the election was rigged and it should be a fraudulent bet because it's a whatever. I'm like, pay the money, you dumb fuck.
Yeah, I don't think they've paid out on it yet. So hopefully that happens soon.
Well, this has been a very interesting conversation. We talked about way different.
Kelly Square in the background.
Lance making sure that he gets his image seed.
How old is that photo?
Yeah,
I don't know. I Googled it, and it's this one. Like what it says is probably one of the funniest ones.
Keep your eyes everywhere. That's awesome.
Keep your eyes everywhere.
That's fantastic.
That big green building doesn't exist anymore.
No, that's why I'm like, how old is it? I don't know what that is.
Looks like
That's
there's
super
FDR on a Billboard up there.
Yeah, what does that say? Poison? What does that say? What is he saying? Something about poison?
It's a quote. No, it ends with best person.
Oh, okay. That said best poison.
He was saying that girl is poor. So, Lance and Tim, how do people find your podcast? How do people find you guys on social media?
They just look to the night sky.
We're in Worcester, right? So there's just going to be a sea somewhere over the.
Yeah, there's a constellation that we're building, and you can only see it in Wormtown. But no, it's you can check us out at crawlspace-media.com. You can find us at Crawlspace Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're also on Missing Maura. At Missing Maura Murray. If you search for that on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, you'll find it all. And the podcast apps, obviously.
And my fans only page is at podcaster stud.
That's STUD 1D.
1D.
That's all it takes.
Subscribe.
Capital D though.
Oh shit! Who's this guy?
Obviously, yeah.
This has been super cool. Thank you for sharing your interest in true crime with us, showing us how to be professional podcasters, and for creating some cool content in our city.
Thank you for this was a great conversation. A lot of fun to get to know you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want it to go unnoticed that you have Elf behind you there on.
Oh,
yeah. He's kind of the podcast mascot.
It's true.
Love it.
And he's holding a
Any
clock
significance to the time?
Yeah, it's 6:45. That's Seltzer Time. Because 4 + 5 is 9, and we're children.
Wow.
Perfect.
Shout out Sticky Pictures and Ricky. All right. That's probably where we'll end.
That was awesome. Super fun to talk to a couple guys killing it, doing the whole podcast thing on a much more professional, dialed in level than us.
Their show's just a little more focused, so it's
a tiny bit.
Yeah, but first and foremost, big thank you to Lisa Drexage from Powwow and everything else. That she was the one that suggested we talk to Lance and Tim and kind of help set that up. So thank you very much for that. And she was absolutely
shout out Lisa.
Those dudes are awesome. Those dudes were super cool. I've definitely listened to a couple episodes of the podcast just to kind of get their vibe. True crime isn't necessarily my biggest interest. Kind of gets in my brain and I get real sad and depressed listening to it. But I know a lot of people are into it. Sarah and Caitlin were talking about it over the weekend.
Naomi's super into it. So I don't know if she's listened to that one yet. I'll ask her when she gets home. But
dude, I don't know what it is. Like Sarah loves the shit, and I'll come home or I'll come downstairs and just see what she's watching, and she's watching some other way that some wife murdered her husband and got away with it. And me getting a little concerned.
Is she taking notes? Because that's when you got to start being scared.
It's that and the ghost stuff, and then she wonders why she can't sleep.
Yeah. Naomi watches like that stuff too, and I'm like, why would you do that? Also, I can't watch scary movies or anything. I hate that stuff. But last weekend, a week ago on Saturday, we watched a bunch of scary movies, and I had partaken in a little bit of an edible, and I laughed through the entire 2 movies.
What movies?
The one with the nun. It's like a scary nun.
Okay.
And I forget, maybe like The Conjuring 2 or something like that we watched. I could not stop laughing the entire time. It was like, Naomi was like, you made it like easier to watch because they were like super scary, which normally I would be like a psychopath. Like I'd be jumping, I'd hate it. But I couldn't stop laughing. I was like so mind altered that I couldn't. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was awesome. Nonsensical to you.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
See, I had the exact opposite. I had the exact opposite. I watched the Borat movie this week, and I had to I watched it standing up, walking in and out of the living room because that like cringe humor just it gets to me and it like hurts me from my core. So I'll start watching some scenes and I'm like, oh, like the scene in the clinic, in the abortion clinic where she's describing the baby, like my skin was crawling and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. And Sarah is just dying because she could see the separation. I don't know. I connect too much to it, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah. That was cringy just based off of like the doctor. Is he a doctor? I don't even know what they're called, those people, but that
facilitator,
the guy. The things he was saying were just very uncomfortable to hear.
Very good way to put it. It was very uncomfortable. Real quick, also don't want to go too far away from it. The 645 thing, that's freaking hilarious. I now thinking about it, you've definitely told me that before, and I don't know why I went with 4 + 5 is 9, but
it works either way. It's so good. Oh yeah,
2 years into this thing.
Yeah, right. We'll get there eventually. But yeah, so shout out those guys for coming on and killing it.
So hopefully, we'll talk to them soon and show them some other spots around the city.
Yeah, some other lunch spots. We can all go enjoy Kelly Square together.
Awesome. All right. It's probably about that time.
Let's do it.
Good Solon.
When you hit them with those stones, ow! Gotta slap them with those pokes. Oh, yeah. Stokes and pokes.
All right. Well, like Ricky said, for those who somehow haven't heard yet, we have a new president-elect here in the United States. And for my poke, I'm going to start off by saying that we suck at listening to experts. Over the summer, they said that the virus was going to get worse in the fall, and here we are. And then over the past couple months, they've all said that the election results were going to take a while and that we shouldn't expect an answer the night of, and that, that week we probably couldn't even see the results. But we still watched old dudes playing with their displays, talking about big dumps all week. And
chart throbs
talking about big dumps.
Sign me up.
They all talked about like, oh, we got a huge dump. I didn't talk about this big dump that I was expecting.
I get it. It was actually like, it's kind of exciting watching it. Oh, you finish your.
Well, no, just to the point, like, yeah, it's hard not to look away. It's a dumpster fire, and you need to see, and the dumpster fire happens to have a lot of control over what the hell happens the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's really hard not to get fully wrapped up in it. But, you know, people were upset how long it took, but we fucking knew it was going to take this long. They told us it was going to take this long.
It's true.
What were you going to say?
It was exciting watching it. I mean, we all know how I feel about how lovely I think Twitter is, but it kind of gave me the same feeling as watching like an MLB trade deadline day via Twitter, which is easily my favorite day of the year. You watch these things kind of happen, and I was trying to explain it to Naomi, like the way that like at least I view this stuff is, you see, I mean, everybody's going to be reporting things, and you kind of, if you stare into the Twitter void enough, like I do, you really can kind of tell when something is just tweeted just for the response, or if there's actual credibility to it. That was happening a lot Thursday and Friday, where things were really starting to take shape. And Naomi was unbelievably stressed out about the selection, as was a majority of
Everybody was
people that we know. But I was like, Friday morning, I was like, hey, like, it's all good. Like, we've got this in the bag. It's things are starting to trend in the right direction. And like, I'm a big believer in trends because it's pretty much always correct. So like, watching the trends of what was coming out, you kind of had the idea of like, holy shit, like this is actually happening. And then it was super telling the way Trump and his team were handling everything. Everything was very much like, he kind of knew it was over a couple of days in, and 2 days before it was announced. But yeah, it was just kind of amazing to have a couple different group chats going, and throughout the day, you're getting these texts that are like, oh my God, it looks like this is happening. Oh my God, this is happening. Here's a screenshot of this. Oh my God, this is happening. This guy's reporting this. And you kind of watch it all come together. And then it actually like played out that way. It was very, very, very exciting. Super stressful, but exciting.
If I didn't have a horse in the race, it would have been exciting and it would have been riveting. If I was in any other European country and was just watching it from afar, yeah, it would have been way more enjoyable. Being in it was extremely stressful for me.
So like, it was stressful, but it also like, okay, don't get me wrong. I hate Donald Trump more than I hate anybody in the world, except for possibly Mitch McConnell, that piece of shit. But did I think Biden was going to win at the end of the day? No, not really. Because I have no faith in enough people doing the right thing. I'm so happy that I was proven wrong. I couldn't imagine a world in 2016 where we actually made it possible for this guy to become president. And the fact that we've lived through 4 years that turned out to be way worse than even like the craziest theories. Outside of him getting us into a war, pretty much everything else that was talked about happened, but on a way worse level. And the idea that, we were finally going to be smart enough as a country as a whole to get us out of that situation, I didn't have a lot of faith in that actually happening. So like, it was kind of exciting watching it play out, where at the end of the day, I was like, well, I'm going to be very upset, and I'm going to be bummed, and I'm going to be scared for a lot of people I know if he wins. But like, that's kind of what we showed was going to happen. So the idea that all these different groups of people got together and voted and actually changed it, it was so much more exciting of a win because it happened. It fucking happened. Yeah. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah. Saturday was an exhale. And like, my mother-in-law was the first person to text us. She was the one that let us know. And then, yeah, it was like, we were out walking around Coast Pond. We had this amazing conversation with some woman walking her dog. Her dog's name was Alf, oddly enough. So
that's so sick.
Felt like I was supposed to meet him. And it was just cool, man. It was just like walking around. You heard people screaming, you heard people cheering.
Yeah.
It was interesting. But I think that John Oliver put it pretty well last night, talking about.
I haven't watched yet. I'm gonna watch that a little bit.
It's really good. He described kind of what America is, and if you look at our latest 3 leaders, you have the first Black president of the United States, and now we've just elected the first female vice president. She's the first Pacific Islander to be elected to the position, woman in the cabinet, and sandwiched between those two is a fucking white supremacist. And as a whole, that's United States, man. And like, that's the shit that we as a country have to now figure out. This fucking election was far too close, in my opinion. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of like dark corners that we got to go shine a light on and talk to some people. There's a whole middle of this country that doesn't think the same way as the edges do, and there's some shit to be reckoned with there. And I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong. I'm saying there's a conversation to be had, and the right's probably somewhere in the middle. But hopefully that right includes caring about people and not money.
That would be ideal.
But my poke is Dave Chappelle. Oh, I'm sorry, my stoke rather is Dave Chappelle, because he said,
what?
I know, right? That would have been terrible. No, because he said it best. He has this like Richard Pryor ability to talk about this real shit with just this like small air of humor that makes it resonate, and it makes it like impact the way it should. But it also like, he's telling you some real fucking shit. But he said that he reminded us that everybody that was celebrating on Saturday, everybody that's still celebrating now, that reminded that it's good to be a humble winner. He reminded us about how much work is left to be done, his loose plan to make progress that he calls his kindness conspiracy, which is hilarious. Because in that little metaphor he built, did you see it? Did you watch him on that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he's great.
Going out and giving it to people that don't deserve it, Black people that don't deserve it, because we need to make up for the fucking slavery and the mistreatment of Black people that didn't deserve it. And it was just so wonderfully put. And he's been on the pulse of current events for years, but this year with the release of 846 and then this monologue on SNL, it's my opinion that he is one of the strongest voices of our lifetime. And he has quite possibly some of the most insight for us to share, to like learn from. His N-bomb lessons, as he keeps calling them.
Yeah. It was kind of wild. I watched, was it Thursday night? I think Thursday night I started Chappelle's show from season 1 because it's now on Netflix. So like Naomi had to work late. I made my second Mama Maru sandwich. And I was like, I'm just going to start Chappelle's show. Like I'll have it on in the background. I've seen all those episodes a million times, but like, whatever. I forgot how like insane the first episode is. The first episode of the Chappelle show has the Clayton Bigsby skit.
Clayton Bigsby.
Which like, that's mind blowing that dude was given a TV show and he's like, I have an idea for the first episode. And like the pop copy skits in there. And like, it's such a classic episode, but like, I totally forgot that the Bigsby episode was, or the Bigsby skit was that first episode. In listening to him talk as Clayton Bigsby, if you were to close your eyes, he really does sound a lot like Trump sounds now. Like it's kind of insane. It's actually not insane, but it's kind of shocking that like that has, I haven't seen that comparison anywhere, but when you sit back, you're like, dude, this is not far off from what we've been hearing out of the White House for 4 years. It was just really, really mind blowing. So to have that come up during this week where like, obviously there was a lot going on. And then to have Chappelle hosting on Saturday was just a beautiful way to tie it all up. It's great.
It was great. So if you haven't watched that, definitely cannot suggest it highly enough.
Shout out Dave Chappelle.
Shout out Dave Chappelle. And strap in, people, because we're clearly not done. And like Ricky mentioned, the next 2 months are going to be interesting. I had a conversation with somebody where they reminded me of Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon and what Nixon did. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have absolutely no idea.
Nixon resigned right before the end of his presidency, where Gerald Ford took over, and Gerald Ford pardoned him for everything at Watergate. So there are people speculating that Trump will resign Pence will take over and give him a presidential pardon on some of the stuff that he faces.
Yeah.
Me personally, I hope Trump's ego doesn't allow him to step down to concede the position prior to him being done, but
Yeah.
we will see.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting couple of months based off of like the presidency stuff happening, and then also like the fact that COVID is now worse than it was in March. It's very shocking. I'm fully expecting like a full on we're going back into quarantine. I kind of know for a fact there's some places in Worcester that are 100% closing in December. I don't think it's for good, but I know that they are closing in December based off of what's happening. So get ready, bitches. You could have just wore a fucking mask, but no.
All right. What do you got for Stokes and Pokes?
All right, cool. What's up? So my poke is I spent 3 full days packaging pretty much every single order that came to Worcester Wares last week after a huge holiday drop. So shout out everybody for that. Thank you. And it was super fun. I love packaging things. It is like a very fun thing for me to do. But we have this tape that it's like branded tape, and you cut it and then you got to get it wet and you put it on the box. It's like a whole thing. It takes forever, but it does look really cool. When I worked at Starbucks, I had this chemical burn from the sanitizer fluid that we used for a couple years. You can't really tell, but like this section of my hand gets red and raw and super itchy and really gross. And it used to happen on like the backside, all the stuff. Whatever this chemical is on this tape, when you wet it for 3 straight days, it had the exact same effect on me. Nowhere near as strong, but still, it's been a very like itchy weekend.
You wear gloves? Do you think that would just mess you up?
No, I wouldn't be able to use my hands at all. And like, you'd have to take the gloves off every single time. It's a whole, it's easier just to do it this way. Yeah. People, when I worked at Starbucks, they said the same thing. Like, well, can't you wear gloves? And I was like, no, like it doesn't work that way. Like you need feeling, and like, you need to be able to like, I can't work like that. So
you need those tips.
So yeah. Need those tips. So I need my hands to do that. I'm poking the fact that I was just like, mildly inconvenienced all weekend. I don't know. And then my stoke is shout out Treehouse. Fucking Treehouse has like the biggest brewery, second largest brewery in Massachusetts outside of Sam Adams. And I think Harpoon actually, but Treehouse expanded. They announced a new waterfront tasting room down the Cape that'll open next summer, like COVID pending, which I thought was huge. Like, what a huge move. You have this space, right outside of Worcester. You're pretty much in the absolute center of Massachusetts. You're really close to Connecticut. Sorry, there's a bee crawling on my hand. Can you see that?
Yes. Flick it off. What are you doing? That's how you're going to get stung. Just shake it off. You were going to get stung live on.
It flew away. Oh, now it's on my screen.
Let him steal. He could sting the screen all day long.
That was nuts. Wow.
Where were you the day that Ricky met the bee?
All of a sudden, we're like National Geographic. I'm like, oh, it's a fucking bee on my fucking hand right here. I don't know. But
so, the oi punk version of Steve. That's awesome.
Yo, save the bees though. All right, yeah. So Treehouse has this brewery. They're killing it. They opened this tasting room down the Cape, which is super smart. I mean, that place is going to be jam packed. It looks beautiful from the photos they've posted. Then the next day, they announced they're opening a Western Mass location in Deerfield, and I was like, oh my God, which is going to be more focused on like hiking and that aspect of life. It's just so smart. Like, to have a brewery that for forever only had like 6 accounts in terms of bars and restaurants where you could get their beer, with 2 of them being in Worcester, by the way. To to not really be a beer that you can't go to a restaurant and get it, really. You have to go to a brewery. So instead of like changing their entire, like they're changing the entire game again. Instead of opening up for distribution, they're opening 2 other locations in Massachusetts where you can go get their beer. That's unbelievable. They now have the entire state fully covered, vacation destination, Western Mass lifestyle destination, and then they're right in the middle of Massachusetts, outside of Worcester, 40 minutes from Boston. It's unbelievable.
They're creating a brand experience, and they know their users and they know their audience, and that's just brilliant.
Yeah, and all those spaces have a lot of like actual space. So I know they've got like hiking trails and everything. Plus they have a farm in Connecticut. Like they've got a whole, I think they also still have the brewery spot in Munson for when they do like mixed fermentation stuff and do experimental beers. And like they're doing everything in a way that nobody else does it. And they're still making more beer and more money. And it's a really, really fascinating thing to watch happen. So I'm super stoked to see what they do and how all that plays out next year, pending people wearing masks.
I love that these small breweries are still doing well. I love that, clearly COVID hasn't stopped them, that they've still been selling and making money, because
it's not that it didn't stop them. It just, they adapted. I mean,
that's exactly it. They became resourceful.
Picking up beer there now is like a very different experience, but it's really interesting to watch that the way they did that, and they didn't let their employees go. They paid their employees even when they couldn't be at work. They re-changed their entire business model to adapt to this, and they didn't do I don't know how to like phrase this without it coming out wrong, but they never reopened the tasting room.
They just kept that one style of business.
Exactly. It was safe for customers. It was safe for employees. It was awesome. And they're still killing it, and they don't have to shut down and refigure the way they do anything, because they've just stuck to it, because they had the foresight to see that, like you said earlier, they just listened to the experts. Like everybody knew this was going to happen. So instead of changing your business model and kind of re-allowing people to come in and spending all that money on or plexiglass partitions and all that stuff, they just never did. And it paid off huge. It's very impressive.
I wonder if I don't know, I'm speculating, but I wonder if by the books, they were able to move more beer because people didn't get out of their cars, create a line,
absolutely,
buy smaller amounts.
You stayed in your car. You weren't even allowed to roll your window down.
Right.
Everything was, you showed your phone through your window. That's amazing. Like what a simple thing that a lot of places are like, well, I don't know. Like, that's not really how it's done. Like, you got to print something out and hand it to them. Like, no, fuck that. It's on your phone. You just show them your phone.
How it was done doesn't mean it needs to be done that way.
Exactly. They completely changed the game. It's very impressive to watch. So I am very excited to see how all that plays out. And I can't wait for most likely 2022, where I can go to the Cape and get a beer.
Yeah.
Stand in line for 2 hours. Right? I'm into it.
I want to meet Rockwell out at the Western Mass version. We're going to go hiking.
Hell yeah. There you go.
Yeah. But
sick.
I think you guys have done it. I think you killed another hour plus listening to us talk. And once again, for that, we are forever grateful. Find us on the internet. Find us on the internet at seltzertime.com. You could find me personally at Hunchback Travis.
You guys can find us at Seltzer Time official on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but like mostly Twitter and Instagram, and DickChuck77, and I'm in all the same spots. So
yeah, keep partying with us. We are inching closer to episode 100, and we are super pumped on that. We have some cool stuff planned for the holidays, and yeah, we're just gonna keep partying.
I'm pretty sure that if we play our cards right, we could probably have not both of them on the 100th episode, because I don't know if that would actually work out or like it would even be fair. But I'm pretty convinced like Obama and Ryan Reynolds one of them could be on the table.
We're talking to Ryan Reynolds people, and by Ryan Reynolds people, we mean the lawyer that they've filed.
I'm gonna tweet at him every day, every day for the next 4 weeks, and just be like, "Hey man, Hope all is well. You want to come on our show? And we won't talk about anything except for his phone company, his Mint Mobile. That'd be so funny.
What about the other, the whiskey company?
Oh, the gin? Dude, that gin's
gin.
actually like fucking delicious. I bought it. It's really good.
I'm not surprised.
It is really good. I'm into it.
Awesome.
All right,
Steve.
bye guys. Hi, Ryan.